time from Thailand. Yeah, I would like to begin with the curriculum vitae of Dr. Bani. He is from Bangkok, Thailand. The place and the date of birth is 25 of September 1985. Still very, very young. And his educational background is BA English First Class Honors at Silpakorn University and MA in English Language Studies, Manchester University, UK, PhD English Language and Applied Linguistics at the University of Birmingham, UK, and working experience that is from 2013 to the present time as the lecturer of English at the Department of English. Institution is the Faculty of Arts, Silpakorn University. Yeah, and maybe we can add some more to it later. Right, the second speaker is, I think that is familiar to you all. That is Professor Rizky PhD from Universitas Negeri Padang. The place and date of birth in Paninggahan, Solo, my village. On July 2nd, 1964, and not all men, but still my ex-student. Okay, the educational background, S1 is at the English department of IKIP Padang at the time, and S2 MA degree in Thisol, University of Canberra, Australia, and S3 PhD in Applied Linguistics in Curtin, University of Technology, Australia. Working experience, he has been very experienced man. The lecturer of English Department, State University of Padang from the beginning of his graduate until now. The head of English Department of State University of Padang, the Deputy Dean for Academic Affairs, Faculty of Languages and Arts, State University of Padang, and Dean of the Faculty of Languages and Arts, State University of Padang, OMT. And the second last, that is Education Attaché at the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in Kuala Lumpur. I think that is the second man from Universitas Negeri Padang as the Attaché Pendidikan for Education Attaché. And last, Director of Center of Language Studies Development and Diplomacy, National Language Development and Cultivation Agency, Ministry of Education and Culture of the Republic of Indonesia in Jakarta. Now he is here in English Department, Faculty of Languages and Arts, State University of Padang. All right. Okay. Now the first, maybe we would like to invite Dr. Bani to give his speech for about 20 minutes, and then we go on with Professor Rizky another 20 minutes, and after that we are going to have the discussion. Thank you. Give the floor to him.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. So today I'm going to talk about discourse analysis and business English. I'm a linguist and I specialize in discourse analysis and corpus linguistics. And today I'm going to talk about how discourse analysis can contribute to the study of business English and also the teaching implications. Okay, so first of all, I think we all know that English has long been an important language of business and commerce. And the teaching of business English is an important part of the English language teaching around the world. But despite the importance of business English, it was not until recently that research on business English was conducted rigorously. And especially for business textbooks, sometimes authors do not actually do any research. They write business English textbook based on what they perceive to be business English. So there is an evident need to investigate language use in business contexts, which can then inform material writing. So we need to know how people actually use language in the business context, so that we know what to teach our students. Okay? And in recent years, there have been studies that investigated such language use, and these are some examples, but there are so many of them. And among these studies, discourse analysis plays a key role in the description of business English. So discourse analysts have studied the language used in business contexts and described the patterns and language use. So first of all, let me briefly describe what discourse analysis is. Okay, there are various definitions and various schools of discourse analysis. So today I will give the definition of discourse analysis. That is like probably the version that I prefer, let's put it that way. So basically, discourse analysis is the study of authentic, naturally occurring language. So it's different from Chomskyan paradigm of linguistics, which you can use introspection. Okay, for discourse, we need to collect data and actually look at those like naturally occurring data. And secondly, discourse is the linguistic units beyond the sentence level. So it's different from phonology because it's not just a single sound, it's not just how we put words together to make a sentence, but it's bigger. It's more about, it's a linguistic unit that's bigger than a sentence. It's more about how we put sentences together to make a text. Third is the study of interaction between listeners and speakers. And here it means that when people communicate with each other, they do not just aim at communicating their message, but they also need to maintain an interpersonal relation with each other. And that's the interest of discourse analysts. We need to know how people maintain their interpersonal relationship using language. And finally, discourse analysis is about how context influences language use. So the context can be social, institutional, professional, and communicative contexts. And these all influence the way people use language. Okay, these are the features of discourse analysis in general, but it can also be used to study business discourse. Okay, so this can be applied to the study of business discourse, and business discourse is about how people communicate using talk or writing in commercial organizations in order to get their work done. Business discourse is a social action in business context. Okay, that's according to regular Shipping, Nicholson, and Franken. So basically, when we do discourse analysis of business English, we would have to collect real data. So for example, if we want to look at how people use language in business meetings, then we go to the meeting, we record the meeting, and then we study the language there. Or we want to look at emails, then we need to collect emails that is written by a business organization and try to investigate it. Okay, and we will use framework discourse analysis to analyze language use, and we look at language as a form of action, because in business context, people use language to perform action. Just imagine, for example, if you want to recruit new people, new members of organization, well, you have to write job adverts, right? The job advert itself is the act of recruiting new members. So that's what discourse analysis will do. Okay. And what can discourse analysis do for business English research? Well, it can show how people in commercial organizations use language to fulfill their goals in organizational work and relationship buildings. And findings can be used to inform the writing of business English teaching material. Now, to analyze business discourse, there's a very famous model which is proposed by Vijay Bhatia. He proposed a four-stage model which conceptualizes the way business discourse can be analyzed. So this four-space model consists of four spaces, okay, just the name suggests. The first one is called textual space, the second one tactical space, the third one professional space, and finally social space. Okay, I will talk about them in more detail, but basically these four spaces represent four levels of analysis or four aspects of business discourse that can be investigated. Let's first look at textual space. Okay, if you are a discourse analyst, okay, we want to look at textual space of business discourse, then we focus on describing the pattern of a business text. Okay, for example, we can look at grammatical feature or generic structure of a business text. So that's the first level. Now for the second level, the tactical space, this time we can look at the process of production and consumption of business text, okay, to assist the interpretation of the linguistic features. So it's higher level. So once we look at the patterns, then so what? Okay, so how do we interpret it? Is it a good business text? Is it effective? We need to know like what the text producers have in mind when they write the text, okay, or what the reader feels or looks for when they read the text. Just as what Professor Aaron Rogers said to us yesterday about what he looks for when he reads application letter. This is kind of the same thing with discourse analysts. Because sometimes when we look at the text, we also want to know, okay, well, what do readers look for when they read this kind of text? The professional space refers to professional knowledge and experience of professional practice, because different professions may have different expectations and conventions. And these differences can result in the differences in the way people use language to communicate with each other. And finally, we talk about this is a social space, so it's a broader social context of interaction. It can be about national culture, the socio-political context, which can influence the way texts are written. For example, some people may want to compare how Thai and American write business letters. So this time they are looking at social space, looking at how national culture influence the way people write a text. Maybe write emails or write letters and things like that. So this is social space. But these four space model, they're not mutually exclusive, the four level of analysis. But we can place like different degree of emphasis on different levels. Sometimes we may just want to look at textual space. Some people may focus more on the socio-political factors that influence linguistics realization. So this is just a model. Now let me give you some example research strand. Now there are so many research strands that look at business English, but today, due to time limits, we are going to look at three of them. Okay, the first one is genre analysis. Second one, relational aspects of business interaction. And finally, intercultural communication. Okay, in my proceeding, I wrote the use of English by non-native speaker, but I had to cut that out, only look at intercultural communication. If you want to read in more details, you can read in the proceeding. Okay, but so anyway, these are the three things that we will go through today, just briefly. Okay, just to give you an introductory knowledge of these three strands and some example research. Okay, first, what is genre analysis? Okay, for genre analysis, basically when we look at a particular genre, we can find regular patterns characterized by stages of communicative acts. And these communicative acts are called moves. And within a genre, there are often a series of moves that regularly occur across texts of the genre in question. And genres are generally conventionalized because they reflect the cultures and society in which they are situated. So when we look at a lot of business letters, we can find some common patterns among them. But genres can be manipulated in order to achieve a certain rhetorical effect. So business letters are not always written in the same way. There may be some common pattern across a number of texts, but there will be some business letters, for example, that are different from others. Okay? And one of the main aims of genre analysis is identifying a recurrent pattern of the genre. Now let me give you some example of study. Okay, so there will be two studies that I will talk about today. First one is the study of meeting, and the second one is sales promotion letter. For the structure of meetings, this work is done by Michael Hanford. He said that the structure of meeting consists of 9 stages. Okay, the first one, stage 3-2, so 2 steps before the real meeting itself. It's called meeting preparation. And this step is, this stage is optional. Some meetings don't have this stage. Then one step before meeting is called pre-meeting. Then there will be a transition move before the meeting starts. Okay, the stage of opening the meeting is when the meeting actually starts. Then there will be transition move from opening to the discussion of the agenda. And after the agenda, there will be a transition again before the closing of the meeting. And then the final stage is post-meeting effects. So the effects after the meeting. Now let me give you some more detail about each stage. Okay, we will skip stage like 3-2 because it's optional. We'll start with one step before the meeting, the pre-meeting. So what is pre-meeting? So before the meeting starts, participants discuss something related to the meeting, or perhaps just small talk. And then there will be a transition move. Okay, now before the meeting starts, there will be a transition move. Perhaps the chair of the meeting can say something like, "Okay, we may as well start." So, okay, so this is the transition move, and then the meeting will start. Okay, when the meeting is opened, the chair will check the quorum. So basically, they will check if there are enough people in the meeting or not. Okay, because often the meeting needs to have at least half of the participants should be there before the meeting can start. And then they check and outline issues to be discussed or made in reference to the previous meeting or email. Okay, so this is an example from Michael Hanford again, right? Okay, so current technical problems. This is an example. Now for the discussion of the agenda or the topic, this one, it depends on the topic and it can have several phases. If you have more than one topic, then basically the participant will talk about each topic one by one, and they will talk, and basically this stage is dominated by question and answer sequences. Okay? And it's a single pattern involving finding a solution to a problem, and the topic will therefore go back and forth between like finding solution, maybe new problem, and then another solution, and then maybe agreement. Okay, so that's the stage 2. Stage 3, closing the meeting. Okay, so this time, the chair will announce the end of the meeting. Okay, and this can be done by group address. For example, okay, folks. Then give a positive evaluation of the meeting, looking a bit more cheerful, and then thank everyone for attending the meeting. But this move varies from meetings to meetings. For post-meeting effects, for what happened after the meeting. So now the chair can set a date for the meeting or talk about the change resulting from the conclusion of the meeting. Okay, so that's the stages of meeting. Okay, now let's look at letters. This is sales promotion letter. So let's look at the move structure. What are the stages when you write sales promotion letter? Okay, first start with establishing credential. So the letter starts with how good the company is before telling the readers about the products or the service, and then they can provide discounts or special offers. Also, the closing documents, then provide contact details and encourage the readers to buy the product or the service or contact the company to find further information. The letters can also use pressure tactics, so they can provide some deadline to encourage the half-inclined readers to take immediate action. They have to buy the product right now, or otherwise it will pass the deadline. And finally, is ending politely. So these are the structure of the letters, which perhaps we can teach our students in terms of the stages of writing sales promotion letter. Okay? So these are the study within John Nance's paradigm. Now let's look at relational aspect of business discourse. Now what is relational aspect? Well, relational aspect is about how people maintain interpersonal relationships with each other, and people try not to make others lose space during interaction. So they use politeness strategies to maintain each other's space. And there are many politeness strategies, but let me give you just two important strategies. The first one is called positive politeness, such as endearment term and joke, and this strategy is used to create a sense of closeness and familiarity. For negative politeness, such as hedges and honorifics and other linguistic features, they're used to display respect to others. And now let's look at an example. This is an example of service encounter. It's a meeting with a supplier. Here, this is a work done by Anna Poster. She looks at the meeting between Paul, the office manager, and supplier Angus, who supply the wholesale papers. Okay? They've done business before, but this is the first time they meet. And here, the supplier meet with the manager, basically to gain more business from the customer. So what Anna Poster found is that for negative politeness, supplier use more negative politeness than the customer because he shows respect towards the customer. So she found that the supplier use phrases like quite, just a little bit, quite a bit, sort of. Has just wanted to come and chat to you a little bit about the company. And sometimes he showed pessimistic, like, I know that you would prefer a draw from the ability or something like that. So these are strategies used by supplier. But for positive politeness, the customer uses it more than the supplier. This kind of shows that while the supplier shows respect for customer, the customer uses politeness strategies to establish relationship and maintain interpersonal relation with the supplier. And here we can see that customer use colloquial language, show common ground, and also use humor and laughter. So here we see that the customer and buyer and sellers are very cooperative and try to maintain interpersonal relation, but in some contexts they can be very confrontational, so they might use impolite strategies instead of politeness. But anyway, these are just some examples of the interactive aspect, the relational aspect of business discourse. And final strand, intercultural communication. Okay, intercultural communication is basically investigates the communication between speakers from different cultural groups, which can lead to miscommunication. Okay, so focus on communication between other involved non-native speakers. Okay, so and they will use frameworks in this cause analysis to describe linguistic patterns which cause communication problems. Now let's look at two studies. Okay, let's look at some miscommunication. The first one by Shen, who studied hotel checkout staff, and our own Shai Kwan, who is a study from Thailand, who looks at Thai and American business letters. Now let's look at what they found. For Shen, she looked at interaction between hotel staff and customers during checkout in Hong Kong. And she found that the receptionist did not use negative politeness sufficiently. Okay, so the customers were not satisfied with the service because they expect the receptionist to show more politeness and respect. For Chacon, she compares English business letter written by Americans and Thai business people. And she found a number of differences. So while letters written by Thai frequently provide background first before stating the purpose at the end of the letter, the letters written by American are more straightforward. Okay, so they state the purpose at the beginning. So while Americans' letters focus on communicative goals, letters written by Thais focus more on establishing context and relationship. And this can, in a way, cause miscommunication by the people from two countries. Okay? So these are examples of these research strengths. So for implication for language teaching, okay, these studies can help with the description of business English. It helps us to describe what business English is and how to write business letters and things like that. So findings from these studies can suggest what linguistic features should be included in the textbook and how people use these linguistic features in context. And in fact, some business English textbooks, which are based on research findings from this course analysis, have already been published. However, there are some limitations in terms of how these studies or findings from this study can be used. Sometimes authentic language use can be too difficult for students. Okay, if you record a meeting and then you want to use your recording to teach your students about the meeting, then it can be a bit too difficult for them because sometimes the language is too complicated and sometimes the sound quality can be problematic. Because when meeting takes place, sometimes the meeting, when the surrounding is not so quiet, so you will hear background noises, so that can be problematic. But that is a solution that is provided by Alma Poster, okay, one of the researchers in business English. She suggests that perhaps the data could be simplified before we teach our students. Perhaps we need to replace some words with more easy ones. And its transcript of spoken discourse can be read in studio instead. Okay, instead of just using the actual recording. Just let somebody read it instead. Okay? That's the end of my talk. Now let's look at the conclusion for my talk. Okay, so my talk discussed the role of discourse analysis in the study of business English, and I'll talk about the model of business discourse analysis. I give you 3 examples of discourse analysis of business English research, which are genre analysis, relational aspect, and intercultural communication. I also talk about implications for language teaching and limitations as well. And ultimately, this talk hopes to argue that discourse analysis can make a wide-ranging contributions of business English research and teaching. And given the heightened significance of business English nowadays, business discourse research could play an important role in equipping students with the knowledge needed for successful business communication. Thank you very much.
Right. Now, let's go on with Mr. Steve. Minutes.
Thank you. I use a term just because it is not replaceable. I cannot find the most appropriate term to replace book in English. So we should add into English vocabulary book or part. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our session this morning is more important than our yesterday's morning session. because this morning is attended by less participants than yesterday's morning session. Yeah, because we know that an important meeting is attended by less people. It is not written in my curriculum vitae, but to me myself, it is very memorable and important when I personally learn English. I learned English with non-English teacher. My teacher was a Bahasa Indonesia teacher. But at the time, he told me, English is easy. Some vocabularies in Bahasa Indonesia are much similar to the vocabularies in English. She gave examples, rambutan, durian, and then we were all happy. And then the teacher continued to give a number of other examples. Buku in English, book. Pena in English, pen. And we were all motivated to learn English. But then she continued to give other examples. Now the assignment, please write a simple sentence. Seekor kuda menghela band. And then we wrote, a cook menghela the band. Anytime when I meet my English teacher who has been retired from teaching Bahasa Indonesia, I always hug her because of your simple motivation. Now I become professor of English teaching. My topic is not about that. Now we talk about culture. It is much similar to what Brahmin has taught us. It is now the time to take our English language teaching into our content culture. Not only our English teaching, but the way we communicate should reflect our cultural norms. I'll start by explaining very briefly these three basic concepts. Number one, the function of language. It is well understood that language is used for expressing our thoughts and culture. It is only an instrument. Our thoughts, our views, our ideas can be expressed in many different languages, not only English. It can be expressed in Arabic, in Thai, in Vietnamese, and etc. So we have to, by understanding that, we know that language is only an instrument. We don't have to change. We don't have to change our views and thoughts because of English. It is only an instrument to express our thought. And then the concepts of culture and our understanding of English as an international language. Has been established now language is only mainly used as an instrument for expressing our thought and culture. Culture itself, when we try to scrutinize it, it needs days and nights, but for this short moment, we divide it broadly into three. Number one, culture with capital C. It is well understood as artistic achievement, art, music, and theater, etc. And culture using small letter C, habits, customs, social behaviors, where we need to talk about in the next discussion. And culture as a social discourse, patterns of interaction and communication style, this should be identified. What are the styles of our communication? from different ethnicities in Indonesia. Based on that, then we can integrate into our teaching and learning English and the way we communicate. Like examples given by Dr. Rami just now, it is an example of identification, a business letter, etc. English as an international language, to me, I hope we all agree with this concept. Yes. English as an international language means, number one, variation linguistically. Non-native speakers of English will communicate in English reflecting their mother tongue speech style. So we don't have to speak like native speakers of English. We speak using our style. Because pronunciation is acquired when we acquire our mother tongue. So it is impossible for us to force our students to be native like in the pronunciation. If we can do so, that's fine. But if we can't, that's fine too. No problem. And number two, variations cross-culturally. Non-native speakers of English communicating in English reflecting their local cultural norms and values. This is the argument that examples of linguistic variation. Japanese Japanese speakers, when they speak English, when they read this sentence, they will pronounce it like this. Puti is reading a book, but I don't know what book is reading now. Fine, because he is using his strongest Japanese pronunciation. No matter, we don't have to train him or her, yeah, to be like native speakers of English. It will be effortless. It will be effortless. Vietnamese will read this. Tonight I will watch a film because Vietnamese cannot pronounce tonight. Most speakers of Vietnamese are able to pronounce it like that, but I will say tonight. Filipino will pronounce this. We need English for international communication. Communication. It is the characteristics of Filipino speakers. The American will read this when they speak bahasa Indonesia. Pohon pisang di padang tinggi-tinggi. We will come back as well. Yeah? Because in English, are activated. So when they speak bahasa Indonesia, they will continue pronouncing these two letters aspiratively. So that's fine. We welcome it. Yes. Next. Let's see these examples of variation based on culture. Yeah, we take greeting, the language function greeting. Native speakers of English, when they meet in the morning, they normally say, hi, hello, good morning, how are you? Yeah, matters like that. But for most Indonesians, when they meet, Assalamualaikum, morning, where are you going? Have you had your breakfast? Yes, because checking our friend's breakfast is more important than checking his well-being. Knowing where he is going to go is more important than his well-being. Because we part, I will continue explaining the concept of collectivism. Collectivism culture, we are part members of groups. So these are a few examples of functions. Complement, for example, we can take many other examples. English language speakers, example, they come, I like your hair like that. Oh, thank you. I'm happy you like it. For most Indonesians, I like your new shirt. Oh, it is my old shirt. I bought it 10 years ago. Oh, I used my dad's. It is our culture because we do not tend to accept a compliment by accepting it explicitly. We accept it by rejecting it. But in our heart, we are saying, thank you for your compliment. But outside, we do not explicitly explain. Arabic speakers will be different. Yeah, when complimenting a boy, a newly born boy, she is like moon with beautiful eyes. Where is the square compared with the star? Where Arabic speakers use proverbs and uh, metaphoric. So, compliment. Um, a selected quote. The spread of English in Asia does not necessarily represent the transplantation of American English, British English, or any other native speakers of English in the region. I agree with that. I'm not good at using this slide. So no problem. Okay. Okay. Who uses English in communication? Let's see. Yes, I group into three. Number one, English native speakers. These English native speakers, American, Australians, Canadians. Yeah. But the numbers are less compared to the rest. Native speakers is English, non-native speakers with English native speakers. Yeah. Like now in the room, yeah, I think most of us are non-native speakers of English. Only Professor Adrian is native speakers of English. Unfortunately, he is not here as well. So, we speak English most of the time, yeah, with non-native speakers of English. And number three is the case. Yeah. Non-native speakers communicating with non-native speakers, the numbers, yeah, are more. Like now, Brahmin is from Thai, Dr. T is from Burma, yeah, and then we are from Indonesia. We are communicating in English. Shall we use, yeah, native or speakers culture? Nahi, says Indian people. We should use our reflecting. So international English meaning that variation. Variation in culture, variation in the way people communicate. Complement, greetings, yes. Uh, I don't know what happened. We also selected word. Okay, good. We are here again. Dimensions of culture. I'm going to just quickly group to see us now how differ we are compared to native speakers of English and non-native speakers of English, especially from Asia and Africa. Non-native speakers of English are classified based on culture into individualism, while Asians are collectivism. Non-native speakers are grouped into low contact culture, and us in Asia mostly high contact culture. Explicit and indirect, implicit and indirect, deductive method of reasoning, inductive method of reasoning, speaker, writer responsible, and hearer, reader responsible. These concepts I think should be understood. It needs days and weeks to explain each of them, but it is general grouping of how people we are. Speaker and writer responsible, for example. In native speakers of English, it is agreed among them that it is the responsibility of the speakers or the writer to be clear so that listeners will understand easily what he or she is saying or what he or she is writing. But for us in Asia, yeah, it is the responsibility of the reader and listener to understand what speaker is intending. So it very differs. Yeah. So in native speakers culture, it is agreed as well. They prefer to call it 3M. Yeah. Tell them what you are going to tell them. Then tell them. Then tell them that you have told them how explicit it is. But us in Asia, we are happy in confusion. But we enjoy it. Yeah. We can understand each other. Collectivism, group gain, personal gain, yeah. Giving and growing are common, yeah. No problem. Misbehavior affects family members. Positive achievement also affects family members. Yeah. When achieve success, the whole people in my village will be happy. The whole people in my district will be happy. The whole people in my province will be happy. Rushdie has achieved this great success. We should be proud of him. It is collectivism. But for individualism, no matter. Yeah, personal achievement, it is your own business. Yeah. When you do good thing, it is for your own, for yourself. When you do bad thing, also for yourself. Yeah. Shameful. Yeah, in collectivism is not only personal matter, but it is group matter. High content culture, implicit and explicit is very clear. Yeah, I take only one survey because the time is very limited. Implicit and explicit. This is the way how we communicate ideas. Topic placement. I'm happy Brahmi is just now as quoted scholar. Right? This is also from scholar and scholar. It's good at interpersonal communication. Topic placement. It is interesting as well. Yeah. Native speakers of English follow this pattern, although it is still arguable, but so far it is agreed among scholars. Yeah. Native speakers of English West, yeah, follow this pattern when they communicate. Call, answer, topic. Call, just the opening the conversation, and answer is the answer. Then they come straightforwardly to the topic intended. Morning, call, answer, morning to, morning, then topic. I would like to invite you to a party next week. That is the kind of, I'd like to borrow some amount of money. Yeah. But most Asians, yeah, follow this pattern. Call, answer, face word, topic in bracket. In bracket means optional. Yeah. It may be stated clearly or it might not be stated clearly. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but we can understand each other. For example, morning or knocking on the door can be called as well. Assalamualaikum. Call. Come in. Answer. Then face word, small talk. Small talk first. Small talk talking about children, for example. Assalamualaikum, Waalaikumsalam, please come in here. How is your daughter? Is she getting well along with her husband? Oh yes, and I'm talking. Yes, he was very sorry. My husband is still not expecting what it is expected. And then my son is now studying at Padang State University. Next week I will pay his tuition, but I don't have much money to do so. You know, to whom else I should put my bet? I don't know how to say it yet. But it is not clearly stated the intention, but through small talk, it is expected that the interlocutors will understand each other. Because being explicit is considered to be impolite. Being explicit is considered to be impolite. The more implicit you are, the more polite you are. So, this pattern, to some extent, is